You'll see what I mean in a minute, but I'm kind of just explaining why we have these two images here. Then, of course, we have the white car. Again, this is just so you guys can have some options when we're using the cars. Great, so download all of those. Again, link in the description. It should download a zip folder, and then you can extract the zip folder, by right-clicking on it and get all of the images. Now that we have that, what we need to do is install Pygame. So what you're going to do is go in your terminal or command prompt and type pip install Pygame, because we just know that it's going to be at the exact same position. I'm just going to define another method, and I'm going to call this reset. So I'm going to say finish underscore position is equal to, and I've already figured this out for you, it's going to be 130 and 250. So now let's just draw this in that position, and let's see what it looks like. So I'm going to go to my images here, and I'm going to add that as one of the images. So I'm going to say finish. I'm going to draw this at the finish underscore position like that. So now let's run the code. And let's see what we get. Notice the finish line is right here. All right, so there you go. The finish line is up. Now this looks fine. However, we can see it is kind of overlapping with our track. So what I'm going to do is just draw the track border over top of this, so that way we get rid of any of these edges that are being cut off. So this is kind of a neat solution that we can go with here. But what I'm going to do is just add inside of my images here, and make sure you do it after the finish line, by the way, otherwise it won't go over. That is actually overlapping, but we're just drawing over top of it just the track border. So that way, everything looks good. And then there you go. Our car is now moving around. Let's see if we bounce, and we do. Sweet. Okay, so that is good. Now that we have done that, we want to handle colliding with the finish line. So now we're going to do another thing down here. We're going to say if player underscore car dot collide, and now we need to get a mask for the finish line. So let's generate a mask for the finish line. We'll do that from up here. Where is the finish line? Right here. Okay, we're going to say finish underscore mask is equal to Pygame dot mask dot from surface and then finish. Okay, we now have the finish mask. So now we're going to say player car dot collide. We're going to go with finish underscore mask, and then we need to pass the finish position, but with an asterisk. What this does is split the tuple that is storing this position, so x and y, into two individual coordinates, and passes this to the function as two arguments. So if you do asterisk finish position, this is the same as passing 130 and 250. Okay, they're identical, but I figured I would show this to you because it's interesting Python syntax. Anyways, we're going to say again, if that is not equal to none, then what we want to do now is just print finish, okay? So now let's see if we can check for collision with the finish line. So I'm just going to go backwards, and notice we get a bunch of finishes. And then if I go up here, we get finishes again. So the thing is, as I was saying, we don't want to be able to just drive backwards and say, oh yeah, you finished. In fact, if we drive backwards, we don't want to be able to go past the finish line. We should only be able to go forward on the track. We shouldn't be able to go backwards and cross the finish line. So this is where I'm actually going to use the point of intersection to determine what direction I hit the finish line from. So rather than just printing finish here, I'm actually going to store this. And I'm going to say finish POI collide. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Finish point of interest collide is equal to that. And then instead of all this, we'll just say finish POI collide, and we will print out the finish POI collide. Okay, so let's run this, and now let's go backwards. And notice that we get a bunch of zeros as we're going backwards, right? So if I keep going back here, let's go back, back, back. Let's just go slow here. Notice all of these are 0, 0, 0, 0, okay? And then as soon as, I guess, the top of my car kind of gets to the middle of the finish line here, we get some actual values for the y coordinate. So what we can do is we can just check if the y coordinate of the point of intersection is 0, and if it's 0, that means we hit it from the top, so coming down. If it's not, that means we hit it from the bottom, and we actually finished, meaning we went all the way around the track. So let me show you what I mean. We're going to say, if the finish POI collide at index 1 is equal to 0, then car.bounce. So just like when we hit the wall, this is actually going to be player car.bounce, we're just going to bounce, meaning we're going to bounce ourselves I guess, if we're going back. Backwards, trying to hit the finish line. Let's run this. Notice when I go backwards now, I bounce forwards because I'm trying to cross the finish line from the wrong direction. Now let's go all the way around, and this will take a second here. But let's see if we bounce when we go from the other direction. Okay, we gotta slowly make our way through the track. We can just test my driving skills here while I try to fill in the silence because there's nothing to tell. Talk about. Okay, looks good so far. Maybe we need to increase the speed of this car for debugging because this could take a long time if I leave it at the speed of 4. Okay, almost there. Last 2 bends here. All right, coming around, and notice we only bounce when we hit the top of the finish line, right? Like I can go onto the finish line like that. It's only when I get to the top that I'm actually bouncing. So that's exactly what we wanted. Now we can just implement what happens if we cross the finish line from the correct direction. So I'm just going to put in else here, because if we collided with the finish line, but our y-coordinate was not 0, that means we actually finished. So in this case, we will just print finish, and I'll actually implement kind of the finish behavior in the next video, but for now, we can add a few more methods to our cars. So I'm going to go to my abstract car class here, and I'm just going to define another method, and I'm going to call this video, but for now, we can add a few more methods to our cars. So I'm going to go to my abstract car class here, and I'm just going to define another method, and I'm going to call this reset. Now what this is going to do is reset our car position, so kind of preparing for the next level, right? So all we'll do is we'll say self.x, self.y is equal to self.start underscore position. We then need to reset the angle, so self.angle is equal to 0. We need to say self.velocity is equal to 0 as well. And then is there anything else that we need to reset? I don't think so. Let's see. Rotation velocity, max velocity. Nope, that looks good to me. We can just do that. Okay, so now, how about we say that if we cross the finish, we will reset the car. We'll set flare underscore car dot reset. Set. I'm just going to increase the speed of my car, so let's make this a speed of 8, and we'll go with rotational velocity of 8 as well, just so that we can turn at the same speed, we can move forward. And let's run this, and let's see if we go any faster. Okay, so we can indeed go faster, but we do have to wait to accelerate. And oh gosh, that's a crazy bounce. Okay, maybe we should make the bounce a little less harsh, and maybe the lower speed was better. Oh my gosh. Okay, all right. Let's try to get around this bend here. Okay, yeah, so I think the speed of 8 maybe is too fast. We also could just try spawning the car right before the finish line. That would probably be easier too, but you guys can just watch me struggle here. Okay, let's go. And you're noticing that sometimes we're hitting like a wall that's not actually there. Again, kind of unavoidable, but as you saw there, as I hit the finish line, we spawned on top of the finish line. We reset the car, and everything was good. Great. So with that pretty much covers everything I need to go through in this video. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can show you, but I think for now that is fine. In the next video, we're going to implement the computer car, right? So the computer car moving around. And as I said in the last video, we'll do all of the kind of logic of starting the different levels, moving the speed of the computer car faster, you know, that nice fancy text on the screen, and really making the game an actual playable game. Hello everybody, and welcome to the third video in this Pygame car racing tutorial.